The boys are back. The boys are back in blue. Round 15 review. Must be Origin week. I don't know, is this teal blue? Or what's the colour? It's a...
Aqua.
Mine's an aqua frontrunner, olden days frontrunner jump jacket, so...
That's nice, that.
Not too bad. It's fucking cold here, bro.
Yeah,
But it
I'm
must
hearing.
be Origin week because we've turned out, and this is by coincidence, boys. No one's spoken about this. We just jumped on this morning. We've both got our little aqua blue jackets on, and Piercy's got a t-shirt because he's in the middle of France. I've got my jacket because I'm in the middle of conundrum, -1 degrees.
-1, Toddy.
We bear the cold and he bears
-1.
the sun. As we said, he's been spending a fair bit of sun, 10 out that toucan.
That toucan. Any feedback on the toucan, Gabe? I'm insecure. I've been walking around I've been looking in the mirror a lot more than I ever have before, looking at side angle.
You need to. You need to take a real good look in the mirror.
It's all the lies. It's all the lies and all the rest of it over the years caught up on me. Your nose grows, they say, when you lie. So I must have been lying on all those piss GST stories on the piss. But I'll tell you where it was cold, Toddy, on the Bulldogs versus South Sydney. Hailstorms. Imagine being there. You would have had 5 of those jackets on.
Hailstorms, thunderstorms. Mate, I was sitting there, I was watching rep basketball yesterday. My daughter was playing rep basketball. Stepdaughter was playing rep basketball yesterday, and I snuck off to watch the Bulldogs South game. And at the 31 minute, I was like, where's the game going? I was going through Twitter, I was going through internet, trying to see what's going on. I thought something disastrous must have happened. But yes, the thunderstorm and lightning got the better of the boys and delayed play for a little bit.
I played in a game in 2015 on Anzac Day where it was the last game where it hailed, which was a good little story off the back of that game. They actually reported it in the game that the last time was that 2015 game. It was Anzac Day. It was about 10 minutes before. Gabe might have some footage if you can put it up while we're talking on the show, but about 10 minutes before half-time, I think it might have even been closer to half-time, they scored. Dragons scored. Boys are behind the line getting hail coming down on our heads. Sprinted into the sheds, same thing. We had a half an hour break. I remember doing push-ups in the corner just to stay warm.
You're talking about blokes hide under your nose when the hail comes?
Yeah. I said, come under here, boys. I had about half the team under my nostrils, but me and Roger Fabry had half the team under our nostrils.
Roger had him over
Shout
his
out
teeth.
to our mate Roger. He's another big toucan. Another big nose friend. But yeah, mate, I remember that game. I just literally didn't want to go back out. There's some games, especially
You're done for the day.
As a player, it's one of those games when you're getting flogged by 40 at halftime. There's a thought comes into your head. You're like, "Fuck! I just wish I didn't have to go back out." But this
were you pumped? Were you getting pumped?
No, it was close. I'm just saying the other example in sport is when you're in the sheds and you know no chance of winning, you're getting beat by 40. It's a tough slog that second half. But this was another level. I just remember freezing, looking around. They were bringing in hot chocolates to warm everyone up. I was just doing push-ups, trying to get my head back on. I think we ended up losing, but yeah, that's my story for a hailstorm. And
how's the South of France treating you? How's the Catalan Dragons going?
Mate, the boys.
How'd they go on the weekend?
62-6 loss. I know, bro.
Hey, Gabe, can we get up Piercy's coaching record since he's been at the Catalans?
Let's get this clear.
I go in points. Hey, Piercy's taken over the attacking coach at Catalan Dragons. Hey, they say great coaches
attacking coach
don't always transfer to a normal coach. They've scored 1 try in 5 weeks.
Mate, I've been there 2 weeks. I've been there to about 3 sessions. But yeah, you know what? Maybe I am a poor coach. I don't know.
Rome wasn't built in a day, mate. You're all right.
I've gone in and I've been in there for the last week, been to a few sessions, just try and casually help out. And the boys are in the horrors. So look, I'm all in with them. Hopefully I can help them out over the next couple of weeks and try and bring some good energy. But mate, at the moment,
you're all in with them. You just pushed it away.
I just said I'm all in. My energy's all in. Okay. You've then thrown me under the bus as in I'm the attacking coach. They're on 0. I'm just getting it clear. I ain't the attacking coach.
Who did you play on the weekend?
the boys played Hull KR, so it was a tough ask. But basically, for anyone who's interested to listen about Super League, Steve McNamara got sacked about 5 weeks ago. He's been the coach there for 8 years. It's been a big change. Joel Tompkins, who's I think you actually played with Joel. Good man, will be a great coach, but he stepped in as an interim coach in the meantime. But yeah, the club's in a bit of a bad way at the moment, and hopefully the boys can get back on track this week. Funny thing in the competition over here, as you know, the top six, it's top six to qualify for finals, not top 8. And there's not a whole lot of teams below that. There's only 12 teams, I think, in the comp. So you're still in with the hope. The points differential's not that massive, even though the boys are in a bit of a hole. So if they can get a few wins on the trot, they're a sort of chance of getting back in.
What Aussie boys
in
are
that
over
top
there
6? But they need to turn around this week, that's for sure.
What Aussie boys you got over there?
There's some big names. Nick Kotrick's here, Luke Cleary, Elliot Whitehead. He's been injured though last couple of weeks. Remus Smith. So it's a good crew. They're all really good fellas.
Is Tavita still over there?
Tavita Pangai's here. So some good names.
Bernard will put all them on the plane in a couple of weeks. We'll throw them into his abattoir and get them chopped up.
Let's hope the boys can turn it around this week.
They'll have to. The meat eater will get them.
The meat eater.
Bernard. He'll go hard at him. He'd be filthy.
It's not looking
Get
good
Laurent
at the moment.
Franciscus back.
Get who?
Laurent.
Oh,
My
Laurent.
coach. Laurent.
He's at St. Helens now.
Yeah.
He's at St. Helens, I think, assistant.
What
have you been doing, mate?
Dark days of Stonewall. Had a good weekend. I pretty much was at basketball all weekend. I was in Ipswich yesterday from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Watching rep basketball. My stepdaughter played yesterday. They went really well, actually. Saturday was a little bit of golf, a little bit of basketball again in the morning, and then didn't do too much. Commentated 2 games over the weekend. I played
Which
in the
game did you do?
golf. I done the Friday night game was Titans Manly, and then Saturday night was Dolphins Cowboys, which we'll get into. And then on Friday, I played the Mick Fanning charity golf day. It was a cracker day. Shout out to Mick and his crew for inviting me along. It was an unbelievable day. Some good golf was played by many, but it was also a good laugh. It was a great crew there. Some former and retired players were there. It was all different kinds of people there. Actually, it was a really good day. Good day to be a part of, and Mick's doing great stuff for the Lismore flood victims. So well done to Mick Fanning. But it was a great day.
Is that what the charity was for?
Yeah. Yeah, he does it really well. It was good to bump into a few people that I played with or against.
Who was there, Tony, that we know? Or that familiar names?
I seen Big Wader. I picked Wader and Matty Moylan up on Friday morning. They were a little bit dusty. Tommy Simons, Keegan Hipgrave, Jerome Hughes and Wishart played for the Melbourne Storm. Adam Reynolds was there. Matty Rogers. There was a few AFL players. Brendan Favola was there. Yeah, he's a good dude. I had a good chat to him. I seen the Hello Sport boys there, Tom and Eddie, doing their thing, just gloating around the place, which was cool. It's good to have a chat to them to see how our show's going, how it's faring, which has been good.
Any feedback, Tony, for the viewers of how the show's going? Fill us in.
Yeah. Jump on go into your bank, go into your phone, book a flight home, business class, and move back to Sydney would help.
I got a baby on the way, bro.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said then things come first, but that's pretty much where it was put. If you do it together, it might become a little bit better.
Was that the words out of the mouth? Get on a business flight plane back tomorrow.
Yeah. Get back tomorrow, come here and change the world. One day at a time.
Believe. That's the quote, isn't it?
Believe.
Believe.
I got the quote of the day, believe. No, we haven't got our quote of the day. All right, let's stop. Enough shit's been spoken about. Today we're talking about round 15 review. Obviously, there wasn't many games over the weekend with Origin upon us in a few days' time, which we'll be diving into after we get into this review. But our first game of the weekend was the Sharks 30 up against the Dragons 18. How was your thoughts on this one, Mitch?
Yeah, Sharks down 18-0 to start this game, especially coming off 40-0 loss to Warriors the week before. I'd say their halftime speech would have been a fair spray from Fitzy. Dragons early were good. Jack de Belin was good. Gutho played great, I thought, coming out of the blocks. It was a game of two halves, literally. I think the wind played its big part, second half. Obviously, Trindle, get to him in a second. He was the best player in the field for the Sharks, I think. Obviously, Nico played well, but Trindle 2 tries. His kicking game forced a lot of errors in that second half. Put a lot of pressure on Sloan. Thought Sloan had a few poor errors there and cost his team in the end. But the field position from the Dragons in the second half, the field position from Cronulla in the second half, they were just rolling the field with ease in that second half and kicking from good positions, which just really put the Dragons under a lot of pressure. And it took Cookie out of the game, Gutho out of the game in that second half. But as I said, Sharks would have been a bit nervous, I feel, in that first half. 150 games for Nikora. I saw a stat, 50 tries he scored in 150 games for a back rower. It's quite impressive. Is that a lot? Sounded like a lot. Just wanted to bring it up. Sounded like a lot for a back rower.
He can run a line. He's runs a great line, Britton Nikora.
He was good. Brayley too. I thought Brayley was outstanding. Got a few more stats for you. Done my homework today.
Brayley was outstanding in that start of the game.
125 metres out dummy half, 11 runs, 2 line breaks, a try assist, 52 tackles. But I thought his intention to run was what changed the game for Cronulla. Fanua Blake was another one. I thought when the game turned for Cronulla, he was the main guy there to get them forward, as he usually is. But that combination with them two, they've had a few assists this year under the post, playing off Brayley to Fanua Blake. And a lot of hookers play with their middles like that. But they've had some joy at the start of the year with that. I thought his running game and balance to then Fanua Blake getting off the back of it, it blew the ruck up big time for Cronulla. But also too, Toddy, the worry for Cronulla in that first half, Dragons obviously got the lead on them, as we said, but a bit of a funny situation, Cronulla. They got the win. They didn't start well. It was nowhere near a perfect performance, but their ruck defence, when momentum's against them, as it was in the first half, it's really loose.
I think that's everyone at the moment. And we'll talk about the Titans Manly game later, but it was the same in that game. I think it's in every game. If you can get some momentum, and how you create that momentum is obviously on the back of go forward usually starts. But I think the importance of getting to the end of sets, trading sets with teams, and then finding a way to find that momentum through a quick play the ball. Even if it's just moving the ruck a little bit. It doesn't have to be shift, just to move the ruck to get the ruck sliding across. So instead of being in their comfortable positions all the time, they move them across, even if it's 5-10 metres, move them away from the middle of the field and then trade a little bit. It's just off a pass, off identifying when you've got a wide pass when you've got a quick. You can't do it on a slow play the ball, otherwise you just get dished up again. It's got to be on the back of a quick play the ball. And you speak about Brayley. Every quick play the ball he got early in the game, he ran, and it caught.
It was intentional, wasn't it?
It was intentional, yeah. I thought early on if he had his support from his halves and fullback early on, they could have broke the game away early and actually got the jump early on the Dragons, but. It was for the Dragons to sort of claw back at that and then get the 18-0 lead at half time. But as you said, it was a tale of two halves. And in the end, the Cronulla got a comfortable win on the back of Trindle. As you said, I thought he was really good. He comes up with big plays, but he's always in the balance. He always has a crack. He's trying on every play. And on the weekend, it just shows that the importance of someone like him, that he won't go away. He continues to keep trying things. And on the back of their momentum, when Cronulla have got momentum and they're in control of the game, they're a top 6 side, top 8 side. But when they're away from that, I find them very difficult to watch. because you just don't know what you're going to get. And we've seen that last week against the Warriors, what happens when they do just let it capitulate and they can't actually call the game back.
Do you reckon the recruitment, this is a good question because I've seen it a bit over here the last couple of weeks, being around a team again. The recruitment in and around, like, do you reckon it's, you know, when you speak about momentum swings and then how do you swing it back? Do you reckon it's the leaders you got on the field that have got voices or game nous in those moments, like small conversations that are getting people back on track? They're like the teams, for example, that lose momentum. Everyone loses momentum, but is it and I'm only going off experience of when we played in the best sides, when you got really hard heads like that, strong personalities that have good small conversations, that they don't let things manifest. Do you reckon it's the teams that don't have those voices in the arm wrestles are the ones that lose momentum bigger, if that makes sense? Like, because I've seen it in different dynamics lately in teams. When you haven't got voices in those situations at halftime, you know, leaders, whether it's your halves or even senior players, teaching you how to get back into, you know, building the next 4 or 5 sets, building the next bit of momentum or how to get yourself out of shit situations. I don't know. It's just it's a debate.
Well, halftime scene's a curse, doesn't it? It's a halftime curse for a lot of teams at the moment because it's a tale of two halves each week. So whatever's said in the sheds at halftime is the same as the Manly game. I thought was, maybe they can come back out, but Titans end up going on with it. But whatever's said in there at halftime, obviously the coaches are out to dissect what happens in the first half, so they get around to their key players and give a message of why they believe they can come back if they do this, to opposed to what they did in that. So it's swapping what you were doing in the first half and doing it better in the second half. Because that's the difference. But I think
the conversations need to be within the game as well. Like, it needs to be some sort of leaders to be able to swing it.
You've got to be able to think on the run. You've got to be able to adapt and think on the run, and I think that's on the back of your kicking game. If that is even trickling, I spoke to you about it before. If I was playing today, how I would try and turn some momentum. Instead of keeping the ball in play, and I know there's no scrums no more, I would trickle the ball out over the sideline. Obviously not dead because it's a 7-tackle set. But I would say to the boys, if I felt the momentum was getting taken away from us, I'm going to kick the ball over the sideline. If you see that happen, it's a trigger for you to know we're losing momentum. We've got to do something, and that could mean, okay, this next defensive set, we're going to work extra hard off our line, but we're going to be squeaky cleaner down the ruck. We're not going to give any penalties away. We're going to let them get through their set, but not give them a cheat get through their set. And then when we kick the next set, we've got a plan in place. If it's not 5 dummy half kicks, but we've got a plan that we're going to stick to, that we believe that we've worked on as a group during the week, that's going to gain our momentum back. You've got to have cues. You can't just go back into your repetition of normal sets because it might not be working. So you're going to have to change something different. And that could, we do a 2-pass shift or move the ruck a little bit and then roll back through where we've moved the ruck from. Things like that, I think,
love it, would
also work. But the hard thing is everyone's losing momentum in parts of games. It's how you keep the momentum and how you capitalise on it. Look at the Dolphins on the weekend. They capitalised on every error the Cowboys made. It wasn't poor footy, or it was just poor execution from the Cowboys. Every time they made an error coming at their own end, and that's not ability. That's just blokes not coming up to scratch, not finishing the play of the ball or the tackle. And the Dolphins capitalised on it. And it was the same on the weekend. The Dragons had all their momentum, and then it was taken away from them, and then the Sharks capitalised on it better than them to score 30 points instead of 18.
I love it. I love what you said. You need some sort of triggers or systems, whether it's kicking a touch, winning your first 3. The good teams talk about that sort of stuff, but what I was trying to get at, I think it's so important to have strong leaders that know how to get the small conversations within games to get the team back on track.
I don't think Cronulla don't have that.
I think Cronulla's lacking that. That's what I was trying to get at. Because the soft underbelly, it probably is soft underbelly that we see with Cronulla that gives people self-doubt whether they're going to make a run for it in the big games, and they've failed at in the last bit. Yeah, it's a bit on their halves, but I also think there's a team culture there. They're struggling to get. There's a few of them that are struggling to get their team back on track. Like Toddy said, whether it's through physicality, whether it's through a kicking game, at the right times. Where Melbourne's, Penrith not so much this year, but the Melbourne's, your top sides, they find ways in those periods. They trust their ways of getting themselves back on track. They get momentum swings against them, but it doesn't hurt them as much as these.
Well, I think sometimes, even when you get down to the other end of the field and you haven't had much momentum all game, and you finally got a chance to attack their line, and then at the end of the set you kick the ball dead. It just relieves all the pressure that you were about to put on. Even things like, okay, run it on tackle 5, finish right in the corner, so they have to come out of the corner, and then that's a cue to your defensive line. Okay, yes, we haven't kicked, but that's okay because we're gonna D different this time. We're gonna have aggressive line speed and things like that. On the weekend, the Dragons' kicking game was poor. When they lost momentum, when they tried to claw their way back from 18-0 up, they were winning. Once the Sharks started to find their groove, the Dragons had no answers in their attack and then no answers in their kicking game. I think they got caught on play 5 a few times. They just come up with poor options.
The Dragons have got to. Do they have to make a smart move for next year? Do you think? Because it's not going to change with what they got. You talk about, and I'm on the same boat there. We speak about, we put a fair bit of pressure on Kyle Flanagan. His probably lack of ability to control the game, to manage all of that, plus kicking. Even his execution of his kicks probably not up to scratch. Well, definitely not up to scratch with the elite halves in the game. Ilias was pushed aside. Sloan's in and out. If Gutho's not there, Sloan slots into fullback. Like, who for them to go to the top 4, who are they getting? They need someone.
They need
to invest in a top shelf. 2 questions: is that going to happen with Shane, with his son? And secondly, who's
they
around?
signed Daniel Atkinson's for next year from the Sharks. He's a running 6, I believe. I don't think he's a controlling 7. They went and signed Ilias because they thought he was the answer to complement Kyle. That didn't work. Now, Ilias has gone back to New South Wales Cup and has won 6 games since he's been back in New South Wales Cup. So that would mean, I don't watch any of the games, so I can't answer it, but that would mean to me that he's doing his job back there. They dropped him for a reason to go back there and work on his game. He hasn't looked like coming back in because there's been some up and down performances from the first grade team, so probably they were right to keep their spot. But I think over the last few weeks, something's got to change. I believe Kyle's a 6 with Tongi as a 6. And I also believe Lachlan Innes is a 7. He's a steering 7. So I think for Flanno, it's a hard one because one, Kyle's his son. And it'll be a tough conversation to say, oh, you're going to have to be dropped this week, but you need to go back. And it's not sometimes to go back and go, well, we need to go back and see how you go in reserve grade. If Flanagan can't drop Kyle, he has to drop the other kid, Tonga, to let Lachlan come back in and see how the team plays.
I've got one for you, Toddy.
We haven't seen the Dragons this year without Kyle in the team. So the fear maybe for Shane is that if he moves Kyle back to New South Wales Cup and Lachlan Ilias comes in and they go together and they start winning, well, that's his answer for moving forward. If they come back and they deliver the same stuff, then he has a decision to make. What does he do? Does he go and try and sign the top end half? Does he ring someone like a Sexton and Adam Reynolds? Adam Reynolds, just agreed to go to stay at. Does he go to someone like a South and try and get Lewis Dodd out of their contract? He's an out-and-out 7. Do they try and find someone to fill that spot? But
would another coach have dropped Kyle by now, do you think?
Yeah. I've got one for you. When Toddy said, is it difficult? I think it would actually be easier to drop your son. I haven't got kids yet. No,
it's not.
I'm not saying it'd be easier, but I know if it was my dad, your relationship, of what I've heard with your old man, that was quite hard on you. I feel like if I was playing shit or not playing well, I reckon my old man would fucking tell me straight away and probably drop me. I really do. Yeah. I know it's easier said than done, but when you said that, it's just a conversation that I wanted to throw out because I'm like, is it that hard? Is it more, I don't know, every father-son probably has a different relationship. But I sometimes think
it's always going to have a
I
conversation.
reckon my old man would be harder on me than he would with other players. That's just my own opinion. But
yeah, and I'm sure Shane is hard on Cole. But he might just truly believe that Cole's the best option. And if that's the case, well, that's on Flanno. But I listened to Gordy the other day talk about it. Could also cost Flanno his job if that's the case. But I think at the position they're in at the moment, it's not dire straits for them because they're still toiling around the bottom of the 8 or just below the 8. So there's still everyone's a chance of playing finals this year with the way the ladder is anyway. So anyone can still play finals footy. So their season's not dead and buried, so they don't have to go try different miraculous things. But I believe, and I'm only just someone that's watching from afar and has an opinion on it, I believe they need to bring Lachlan back in and move Cole back to New South Wales Cup just to see how the Dragons go. How it flows and what they look like.
What does make of the post game, boys?
Working.
What does make of the post game with Flanno? He seemed a bit pissed off.
Well, Flanno is aggressive, isn't he? He's
ruthless, Flanno.
And I'm sure he would have gave it to him after the game in the sheds, and they'll get a response. We've spoken about what happens with the Dragons with Flanno. You'll always get an up and down performance, and they usually get a response after a loss. So whoever they play this weekend, they'll have a response for them. It's just how they continue to do it consistently week in, week out.
I think where they're at is where they should be at with the roster that they got. Like, you'd want to see more consistency from them, but they're not a top 6 side on paper for me or where they're at and the halves they got. So I'm not saying that I don't think that they're not reaching their potential, but if you're not going to get out of the Dragons squad as hard as the best coach in the world is not going to get the best out of the Dragons squad that you're getting out of a Melbourne squad or a top 4 side. I just don't think they're at that level yet until they get an elite half and a couple of other players to fill the void. But their inconsistency is an issue. But yeah, I don't think.
Where does an elite half come from?
Well, everyone's probably saying the same thing. You probably have that argument for every team that's not in the top 6. They want an elite half, and there's not that many of them. That's why they're all locked and loaded for 4 or 5 years. So yeah, I'll need to get back to you on that one.
Well, the next game of the weekend on the Friday night was Titans 28 versus Manly 8. And Manly was my cheddar. If I was a betting man, I would have went and put my house on Manly to win this game. So we talk about egg in our face and stuff like that. We definitely got egg. We got the kitchen sink. We got the fucking rubbish truck. We got my young fella's old nappy in our face. That's how bad it was because the Titans, if you took someone to the football on the weekend that had never watched a rugby league game and we said one team's on the bottom of the ladder and one team's at 7th, they would have said Manly's at the bottom and then Titans are at 7th. That's how it played out. The Titans just come out. There's always a question mark when you play at home. It's hard to beat teams at home. The Titans come out and deliver. They look fitter, faster, stronger. They beat Manly to the punch in everything.
I think because Manly started the year well, we kept joking about Four Pines Park, how they were getting all the good... They had a really good run to start the year as far as home games.
They've blown teams off the park.
They had those huge couple of wins, didn't they, where they were like winning by 40 to 50. And then I feel like that's... Well, for me personally, it stayed in my head for a while, this perception that they were really going really well. But 1 in 7 games, let's just let that sink in for a bit, Manly fans. That's not good. And the thing on the weekend, they had the big 3, the Turbo, Jake, and DCE. DCE coming off Origin dropping. I just thought, really poor. I thought attack-wise, Manly were really sideways. They tried to just finesse the ball. It sort of shows to me, you put 1 in 7 losses. The momentum swings within games and week to week. Their lack of sort of resilience in defence, and then they're come out against the Titans and just get caught in that sideways footy. For me, that's just a sign of looking for an easy option, and they haven't got much resilience as a team, and that's sort of where they're at. It's where they've been at the last couple of years. We spoke about their lack of ability to make finals over the sort of course of the last 7 years. They haven't been featured in the finals a lot. for a side that's got a lot of good players. So I feel like it was a real shock, and I got, as you said, I got egg in my face. I actually deleted the post to the fans, so I'll just be honest about that. We come out and said how good they're going to be on the weekend, and
they were going to get a lapping.
Titans. So sorry to you Titans fans, I had no respect for you. That's the honest truth. On back of your form, I seriously thought Manly were going to have a field day, but yeah. My old mate Fozza had a blinder. You said you're at the game. That was the perfect dynamics for the Titans. You know, Jaden Campbell at 6, Brimson at fullback, Fozza at 7. We spoke about that at the start of the year, that's what we wanted to see. Obviously, Kieran was out with injuries. He's obviously getting older in the tooth, Foz, and when he has a good game, he's good. And then it's just week to week trying to hold up that body. He's just such a soldier. But mate, when he's on, he's just a vintage great 7, great 6, Foz, obviously. But it's good to see these old guys when you're still playing. They could still just put on masterclasses, even though it's a bit slower than it was 10 years ago. But he had a blinder. And I was impressed with the midfield footy. I thought both teams played good footy from midfield. But when Kieran plays the middle third, it just opens up those two guys just with their speed. Gives them a chance to run, opens up their running game. They don't have to think too much. So they just keep their eyes up and play a bit more footy. And it was good to watch.
Yeah, from watching this game live, it was definitely Manly come there with the intent that they were just going there for a day out. They had their jeans packed before their boots by this weekend, so they would have thought, okay, we're going to go there and get an easy win. And they didn't earn the right to play footy. While their attack was sharp in some parts, it was just run out of space because they would go sideways first, very pre-lined. And the Titans' outside backs are really fast and can defend well if you go and if you don't dig into their line or you don't disrupt their middle. And they didn't disrupt their middle at all. They didn't actually try and go through the front door. They just moved the ball early and think they'd have some joy. But then on the other side, the Titans actually went through the middle of the Manly defence, through the middle of the guys, and then moved the ball on the back of Kieran and Campbell on the right side, Kieran on the left side. They moved the ball early coming out of yardage. We talk about rolling the ruck and moving the ruck around. Their outside backs would jump out of dummy half and then find a pass to one of the other outside backs, and they'd get across the field. And wherever they'd lay the ball, they'd then roll on the back of that. And what I liked on the weekend
was good, wasn't he, Toddy? Kelly.
Kelly was good. Philip Sami was good. Fitzgibbon, Carl Pereira. They're fast. They're fast-moving bodies. If they can find their front and get momentum, and then their forwards play on the back of that, Regan Campbell-Gillard and that were coming off the back fence. I had not a dig, but I sort of spoke about Randall in the back row. I thought that it's probably not his position, but he played probably his best game on the weekend. But for the Titans, they went there on a Friday night ready to all costs to win. And watching it live, it was a good view to see how Campbell actually plays as a half. Obviously, Kieran's the talker and the dominant player on the field, but I like that he can then shift the load to Campbell to kick. So Kieran's the man orchestrating, talking where the play's going to be, and then play 5, Campbell comes in. He's got a great, nice kick. Obviously, the challenge for him moving forward is his kick selection. When he gets down close to the line, when he has to find a neat little grubber, he's got a really good high, long kick. So that was the way the Titans played on the weekend. They turned the Manly team around by his long kicking game, gave him a lot of hang time and got his outside backs to get down there. And when Tommy Turbo was catching the ball, every time he was catching the ball, there was someone swamping on him, so he had no room to move. And they just couldn't find any momentum. And then for me, the Titans looked really good. So if they can replicate that over the next few weeks coming forward, they're a chance of playing finals football the way they're going. If they play like that. Because they're only now 4 points out of the top 8. And another one from the weekend, we talk about top 8. In the live ladder on the weekend, the Penrith Panthers were in 7th spot.
They're making the 8, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they'll go for a run for it.
We went through that thing last week of who will fall in now, and I said Manly will go on a run. I'm going to swap that now, and I'll work out who goes in because Manly are going. What? I'm allowed to?
Yeah, you're allowed. Just backpedaling.
I'm not backpedaling. Talk about backpedaling. You backpedaled today, mate.
Yeah, I just wanted to see that. You got that aggressive head. I just wanted to poke it a little bit. Keep going.
I'm already
I like
poking
the
your nose,
aggressive.
and it's look.
It's growing. Hey, Toddy, just on the back of that, I've got something for you. And this is what we were speaking about earlier about Cronulla. And I spoke about senior players having mini conversations and it's certain players. And they always talk about when we play, defence helps you attack transfers to your defence. Kieran doesn't play, they don't defend as well. When Kieran plays in attack, they defend better. And for fans maybe confused by that, it does transfer from your attack to your defence or the way you attack, which then leads into a good kick. Then also it has a side effect to your kick chase and the way you defend as a team. For whatever reason, it does. And you see with teams when a good half will come back, all of a sudden the energy of the rest of the team, their kick chase is better, their attitude to their transition sets is better. And it's because of these small conversations. And it's worth noting with Fozzie, he's a perfect example of this. You just spoke about Titans now, a possibility of playing in the finals. Well, when Kieran's not there, the worst defense they still have. At this point of the year, they got the worst defensive team in the comp.
They've still got a long way to go
on the weekend,
play finals.
Everyone was better. Hey?
Yeah. I'll probably let that slip a little bit. They've still got a lot to improve to play finals. Obviously, that's just a one game. If I was in the Titans camp this week, I would sit them down and get them to watch that whole game from the other night, and that's their review. And then say to them, go out there and train this week and do exactly what you've done for that game against the next team you play, but get better on that. Play to your strengths.
They're a good pack.
Yeah, mate, and that's it. Play to your strengths. Don't play to other teams' weaknesses all the times. Go to your strengths, and that's what they done. They played their strengths. They went through the middle. They moved the ball with their outside backs, and they kick chase was on point every time the fullback got it. They were fast. They got down there. They can chase the kick. Effort areas.
It's good. Gibson, Campbell.
Do you think
with
this
space.
game, do you think Cherry Evans' performance this game kind of put us a bit of ease on Billy Slater's selection? Like, does it kind of make the not selecting him for Queensland make a bit more sense?
No.
From a media point of view, it probably takes pressure off, but I don't think he'd care.
You got your podcast hat on, Gabe?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think Billy's sitting there going, fuck.
Well,
what are they going to say?
Well, do you think it makes it more the right decision, seeing that Cherry, the way he played there?
Well, it's got nothing to do because I thought Cherry the previous weeks had been pretty good. I thought on the weekend he was poor. He come up with some bad kicking options, and that sometimes comes with the added pressure of being dropped from Origin, wanting to go there and prove a point. It sometimes goes the other way. If he probably has his time over again like this, where he's got the bye this weekend, but after the bye he'll probably come out and brain it because he's had that week of sort of pressure and speculation. It should have been or shouldn't have been picked, gone. The Origin game's been played, so he can now sort of sit and relax. I'm hearing that he'll be announced at the Roosters soon. That deal's done. So obviously, once all them things are done, he'll be able to concentrate on his footy and try and give the best finish to Manly as possible as he can.
Chez's focus would just be purely on making finals, wouldn't it? Before he leaves, like he's focused. The amount of rep footy he's played, and I'm sure he would have been. Can't speak on his behalf. I'm sure he would have been hurting for a few days. But at his age, where he's at, you'd think his focus would just be on getting his side in the finals before he packs shit to the Roosters. Toddy's saying.
Yeah, that's annoying. And
that's the inside info at Triple M, Toddy.
A little bit inside info, mate. I won't kill my sources, otherwise I won't get any mail again.
Nice, mate. Yeah. Nice. I was just testing you. I seen if you're a snitch.
But it's a done deal.
Last thing I wanted to touch on this game was...
So you need to give us a little bit, you know?
Koula was
been done since November.
Oh,
really? November?
It looked like Koula was the only player that looked dangerous for Manly, and they didn't want to go his side. I just wonder why teams stick to losing game plan. Like, Koula looked dangerous every time he had the ball, but they just went right the whole game. Is there a reason that you can see that happening, or...?
I have a theory with Manly that they're more pass happy to that right because it's Cherry. Cherry's always been traditionally a right-sided player, and they get caught in that sometimes a bit where as I said, Chez is very dominant on that right edge, and I feel like times when they're not playing as well and they're not in their flow, and Cherry sort of takes it upon himself, they become a bit right-sided dominant. He's been like that his whole career, Ches. He's always been. Every player, majority of players have a favoured side where they play better, maybe step off 1 foot better. You're more of a left side or right side half, naturally, the way you kick and all that. But I feel like when Cherry's plan B, when he's chasing points or he's trying to do too much maybe sometimes, which all halves do at times, they're more right side dominant. But I agree with you. But their best threat is going to that left edge with Turbo, Kohler, down that left edge. Any good footy that they've had over the last 7 weeks when they haven't been playing great has come down that left edge.
Kohler was on it in a different gear to the whole team, it looked like to me, and he just couldn't get any ball.
How old's Kohler? He's good.
I'll get it up for us. But yeah, I don't know. Would you agree with that, Toddy? The reason why they just go to the right the whole time?
Oh, I think they were going right and left in different stages. They just weren't giving the ball at the right time. They were like giving the ball and say, do your best. And as I said, in parts of the game, it looked like he was through the line, but you got to give credit to the centres of the Titans. Philip Sami and Brian Kelly, they were really good defensively on the weekend. They come up with some big plays.
And Kohler's only 22, so there you go.
He's a gun.
Yeah, he's a gun.
Him and Hopper there. Any more mail on Triple M mail on? I was just seeing if you're going to buy it. Any more inside info from Turbo? What's the go there? Any Super League chat?
Nah.
That can't be serious, can it?
No, dead and buried.
Don't lose him now.
That's just news reported, and then it won't be to 2027 again. By that stage, you'll be living back in Australia, so don't worry about it. Our third game of the weekend was the Sydney Roosters 12 over the Newcastle Knights 8. This was a wet, dogged game, as Mitch would call it. Dogged performance by both teams. The Newcastle Knights had plenty of time to sort of score tries on the weekend. They managed to get 8, but it just wasn't enough. The Roosters come home with a wet sail to score a Sia Wong questionable try. Siwa Wong was a questionable try for me. What did you think? How did you think the Knights went? Obviously losing Fletcher Sharp to a calf injury before the game hurt their chances. Obviously also with their origin players out. I thought they fought hard early, the Knights. They just couldn't come up with enough points to beat the Roosters team.
Yeah, it was 60 minutes till the Roosters scored. So I thought the Knights played outstanding. I just got a few names down for you. I wrote down that were out for Knights. KP, Frizzell, Adam Elliott, Safidi, and Leo Thompson. There might have been a couple more. So I think for a young squad, Fletcher Sharp also. I think for a young squad, I thought the Knights were great. Obviously, we spoke about the booing allegations the week before, the lack of consistency from the Knights. But obviously the Roosters are a younger squad themselves and sort of finding their way and doing a good job at it, a great job at it this year, but especially as the season's gone on. But, yeah, I thought the Knights competed hard. Dylan Lucas was outstanding. He's a player of the year for the Knights. If there was an award tomorrow, he's a future rep player. Sets up that first try for Kyle McCarthy on the left. Congratulations to him. Early try. He looks like a player, big rangy thing. I think a lot of these boys in the Knights system, from the Knights system as well, a lot of local kids. So, which is good to see, isn't it, for an area like that? And they're getting blooded and doing a good job, coming in difficult circumstances. But, the Roosters, obviously Teddy was outstanding. Obviously the controversial try there. Who made the break? Big Celesi Fateki, who was out of the Roosters Academy system last couple of years, been playing reserve grade. He had a great game. Big left foot step for a middle to get the Chookies back in front. But, close call there at the end. They had a few opportunities late in the game, the Knights. But, I thought the Knights competed really well. I just thought Roosters, bit of class in there and got them over the line. The Knights had 90 plays back-to-back in that first period and just couldn't get any tries.
No.
It's a problem for them there. I want to ask you the question, what do you think the problem is? Bring in Jackson Hastings, which you've been a big fan of, cops lots of criticism. You've got Jacko in there who's, love him or hate him, he's an on-ball half who's a solid player. You got when KP's there, he wasn't there on the weekend, but that much possession to not be able to come up with a try against a side that's, as we said, Roosters are doing really well, but I wouldn't say the Roosters are full of world beaters at this present moment. They're a team that's rebuilding. What's the issue at the Knights, without harping on it? Because it was exposed again on the weekend, but to have that much possession, and as I said, to do such a good job to keep the Roosters at 0 for 60 minutes, but why can't they get points?
Well, I think obviously it hurts that KP's in Origin, then Fletcher Sharp gets injured before the game. They have to.
But it's every week.
Yeah, I know it's every week, but they do have performances where they do score points. And I'm going to talk on the weekend of what I've seen because we haven't seen Jacko featured all this year. I'm going to talk on him and Cogger together. I believe they're very premeditated. They get to a position on the field. It's very pre-lined. And that might be because they don't want to make errors because it's their first chance there. But they look very predictable. I don't believe the way they played on the weekend, they were going to be any run threat. So the Roosters can D them, but also D what they're coming with. And if they are a run threat, their speed probably doesn't warrant for them to put so much pressure on them. So they're actually sliding off the play before it even unfolds because from the start of the game, it was very pre-line, premeditated footy. And that might be because it's wet and they just want to play safe. But at some point, you have to throw caution to the wind and have a crack at something different to score points. And that's what was probably needed. And you've seen in the last sort of 3 minutes to 5 minutes, they threw the ball around a little bit more and probably looked a little bit more like they were going to score at the back end than they did early in the game because they needed to score. So I think they need to sometimes take the shackles off and have a crack at it. But I believe what happened on the weekend is that it was just very premeditated and pre before the line. You knew what was coming before it happened. Jacko gets across the field a lot, drops blokes under, which also gives him a good look at the field and gives him options. But they just didn't have much on the back of that. And when they did go out the back, the young kid Hunt on the wing isn't a known passer, so they know that if he's a runner. So all they've got to do really is defend really well on the lead runner and then the play out the back and hold on the half who's probably not going to run anyway. So they only have to defend 3 players. But if you've got someone like Fletcher Sharp out the back or a different half coming at you, you've got to worry about their run threat. Talk about in the next game, Katoa, what he offers when he goes into the line to what they probably don't. So there's a lot of difference, a lot of things you can sort of pull apart out of it. But if you're talking about their attack, I believe that's what it is. They're too predictable.
Is it a try? Siwa Wong's try, Toddy? What are we thinking? I think it is.
Why?
Because I feel like there was one over without going on about Super League, but in the Challenge Cup game to win the game, there was a debate. Sam Burgess came out and spoke about the rules that if there's downward pressure from your body onto a ball, I think it's from hip upwards, if I'm correct, Gabe, if you want to look into it. From your hip upwards, downward pressure doesn't have to be your hands. It could be any part of your torso. That's true. I'm pretty sure it's true.
But he kind of used his hand. Like, he loses.
Yeah, he used his hand and missed it.
He loses control.
No, that's what I'm getting at. I don't think he misses it. If you watch it closely, he puts his intention is. See, for me, the ones that aren't tries and that are loose put down is when it's the eye contact's a big one for me, and it's the intention of how they use it. If it's not an intention to put the ball into the grass, where I feel like he's gone down. It hasn't been his hand, but his forearm, but it's an intention to force the ball down. For me, that's a try.
His hand is there. I reckon he loses possession with his hand.
Yeah, I think it's a try.
What you got no try, Toddy?
No try.
It's an intention to ground. You can tell the difference between a loose put down when you're not intentionally trying to ground it and ground it. And if they're intentionally trying to ground it, it's a...
No try at 20-metre restart. 20-metre restart, Knights win the game.
I got here, tries awarded when grounding the ball, a player grounds the ball. The ball is held and pressed downwards with control.
There it is.
Is in bold here, with control.
Intention.
He had no control.
Same word.
Hand, arm, or the front of the body.
Control and intention, same thing.
The player must have control when grounding the ball. No fumbles or double movements.
Yeah.
That looked like a fumble to me. Anyway, that's my opinion.
No, it's a good opinion, but I don't agree.
Well done to the Chookies anyway for fighting back to win the game. And as we just spoke about, the Knights, they were just probably a bit predictable, and that's the reason why they only managed to score 8 points with all the possession they had in that first half. But
we spoke, Toddy, about, before we go on to the next game, we spoke about Dragons needing an X factor. The Knights are wrapping this season up in however long left, going into an off season with one of the poorest attacking stats in the comp. Who comes in? What do they need to change over the off season?
Well, they signed Dylan Brown. There's obviously now the speculation if KP's off to rugby union. There's been a bit of talk this week around that he won't be at the Knights next year. So
is it next year?
That's the talk.
He won't be going next year, surely.
I reckon a lot will determine on this Origin series. As you know, Mitch, in rugby league, when there's smoke, there's fire. When the big journos are talking about it, Chamis and that are talking about it. They don't talk about it just to make up a story.
No, there's
obviously speculation and info about that he's been approached by French rugby clubs or European rugby clubs. And obviously, if that was the way he'd go, then the All Blacks would come knocking on his door, I'm sure, also, if he was to then entertain rugby union. And who knows? It's at the end of the day, it's a big call, but also for me, I spoke about it a few weeks ago. While I'd love Kalen Ponga in my team, and they will lose a lot losing Kalen Ponga, but I think if that was to happen, it gives them an opportunity to go, here you go to Fletcher Sharp. Here's your number one jumper. Don't worry about playing 6 or 7. Go out there and play fullback for us and make us a team. Let's build our football around you instead of worrying about building around Kalen, which is fair because he's their superstar and their best player. But I would look at it also as a positive to KK. Now we've got a next man up in Fletcher Sharp, which I think's capable of doing a great job. Can't do things Kalen can do. But the way Fletcher's playing, I think he's got the ability to probably grow better than what Kalen's got to grow. Is it an age? He's been there for a long time now, and obviously on the back of his solo performances last year, they played finals footy. But when we talk about growth in the ages, difference of ages, I think they'll have a lot more growth in Fletcher than they will at KP.
They need KP for me. But I can understand your argument.
KP,
I can understand your argument if it was to
you asking me a question, but so I'm answering the question in the narrative that he leaves the NRL. So, and that's all I'm only talking about.
There's a plan B. There's a plan B there, like you said, and there'd be a lot of money saved, and that would fill in other spots as well if they were to go that way.
Yeah,
which could tighten up their middle a little bit. But for me, KP needs to stay. For them to climb the ladder, they need every bit of KP. But what I was going to say is he's at an age where if he's going to pounce on rugby union and want to play All Blacks, harsh to say for rugby league's probably not far around the corner if that's his motivation, because he's at that age, 27, 28. You know,
if I was Newcastle, I'd go
probably a time to go to the All
Wishart.
Blacks if that was the case.
If I was Newcastle, I'd try and sign Wishart or someone from Melbourne to play 9.
He'd be gone. 9.
Yeah.
He could play anywhere, can't he? 6, 7, 1. He would be good.
All right, our next game of the weekend was a whitewash. 58-4. Dolphins 58. The Cowboys 4 up at Townsville on the weekend, and it was a poor performance from the Cowboys. Toddy Payne, I know he's got no hair left, but if he did, he'd have none today because it was a woeful, absolute woeful.
Yeah.
The Dolphins turned it on from start to finish. And this, we speak about Katoa, and we always talk about him where his game's getting the differences he's doing, but on the weekend, we've been speaking about Cleary, how he does his little stop-start playing very direct north-south footy. On the weekend, Katoa showed that he can do it very similar. He was going into the line, and he'd sort of like show his hand forward, but then nearly stop to a standstill and make the defence come to him, and then he'd pass either short or out the back. He was breaking the line. His kicking game was on song. He was in everything. But he wasn't on his own. Herbie Farnworth, Jack Bostock, Jake Averillo, Nicarima.
On fire.
The list goes on. Their whole 17 was good. You know who was good? Kurt Donahue, the hit of the year. He was good early on, then went from 13 to 9. Played some really good football. Played the centre of the field. So at the start of the game, it was Nicarima on the left, Katoa on the right. Kurt Donahue ran everything that happened from tram line to tram line. Short tram line to tram line. He ran everything that went in the middle of the field, which gave Nicarima and Katoa a look of what they were getting. And then once they've done that, they just come in and started pulling the team apart with their plays inside, outside, out the back. They just had so much space on the back of Katoa's deception and leading into the line.
He can react too, can't he? Like a lot of players, when you play that tempo, it's sort of just that, you've just got that first layer of it. Like he can react. Benji Marshall, all these great ball players used to be able to do that because they got that feel, don't they? Like the amount of times he's going with one option with his tempo and then at the last minute, regarding how the defence either turns in or out or slides, he's got that vision to see what's in front of him and then the player on the outside. He's got that show and go, and then he can play ad-lib. Mate, he's got everything. But the short ball, that try off the scrum, play one. Was it the back rower he hit? Little short ball. I think it was when Farnworth scored. Just silky little overs lines. And mate, they were outstanding. They're the real deal. They've got the perfect balance now of bashing the fuck out of the opposition as well. And it's a credit to Christian Wolf. I had Christian Wolf at the Knights 2019. He's a hard man, Christian Wolf. I'm not sure if you had much to do with him, Toddy, but you usually resemble how you coached. And
him and his brother, they're known for.
Wolfie's a genuine tough dude, and he's a hard man. And I suppose when we went back to it, without harping on the first few rounds, they were playing a very simple plan. But you can tell that Wolfie had this style of footy in mind. He obviously knew that he had Katoa, Nicarima, Hammer, Farnworth, all these X-factor players that. Let's strip it back to start the year. Let's build it off what he stands for, which is hard work, discipline, all those things that he wants to resemble in his team. And then now he's got the icing on the cake, and that's what he's getting. And obviously they're doing it without a fair few players. Tom Gilbert's out, Flegler and Safidi for the year. If they were to play come finals time with an improving Katoa, a rep player Hammer, and Nicarima, who I reckon is one of the best sixers in the game at the moment. Big call, but on form, he's been outstanding. His name comes up every week on this podcast since they've been playing well. They could have given it a real shake. I don't think they can win the comp. But they, in my opinion, they could have made second week of the finals, potentially, still might. But with those middles out, it's going to be hard. But, yeah, geez, they're playing a good style of footy. I'll tell you what, Todd, it would have been good to have a beer with Ray Stone and Kurt Donahue.
Mate, Ray Stone
I'll just sit next to Ray Stone the whole night and just staunch everyone. Just be like, no, and he's just going to take anyone's head off for me. He looks like a hard man.
The Dolphins for and against is like plus 140. Over the last 4 weeks, they've scored 120-something points or more and 18 against. Like, they're not just doing it in their attack. They're blowing teams off the park that they can't attack against them. Their defence has been on some. They're working together. What you see is a team that's working together that are in check with the way they want to play, but also in check with the way they want to attack, and the way they want to defend. They're in their systems. They don't go away from it. And when they do go away from it, if it unfolds, they'll work their backsides off to get back and help their mate.
It's a club you want to go to too, I reckon. Like, as far as you talk about, like, building, like, longevity, you're the best young half in the game. You live in the sunny coast, Queensland. Like, they've got the best young players outside Avarilla, Farnworth. Like, they've got just watching them from afar, they've got a good energy about them. Obviously, just the way they're playing, but just the playing group, they're at a good age. Like, the players are at a good sweet spot of their career, got lots of longevity, good balance in the pack, good coach. Yeah, it's good for the game, and it's also if I was a young player or a player wanting to go to a system to develop, I'd be going to the Dolphins.
They've got some exciting young kids coming through too. They've signed some good young schoolboy kids at the moment coming through, which is a positive. They've got a war chest of money, I hear, the Dolphins.
Yeah, right. Who was the recruitment there?
I'm not too actually
Whoever he is, he's done a good job. Wayne Bennett was there, wasn't he?
So Tottenham recruitment officers, the Roosters have just poached Joel Carbone from the Canberra Raiders. So he'll be working with Anderson at the Roosters.
right.
Obviously, virus finished up at the end of last year, or it's the middle of this year, sorry, through family illness. So they've poached Joel Carbone from the Canberra Raiders. So, sorry, do you want to talk about anything about the Cowboys?
There wasn't much to say, was there?
No, there wasn't.
It's a bit hard.
Maybe just go on to them a bit. Tamalolo got injured in the warm-up.
Tamalolo injured in the warm-up. Obviously, Origin players
out.
out. Clifford comes into the halves to partner with Jackson Purdue. I thought when you come back into a team, you've got an option to go in and make the coach want to pick you in following weeks. But he went away from the game. I think a lot of their players went away from the game. It was just a poor performance, just errors. It wasn't on the back of poor attack. I mean, they just didn't have opportunities to attack because every time they come in their own end, they just made errors after error after error. And the Dolphins capitalised every time there was an error.
What's the Cowboys on the ladder? Did we speak about that last week? We got Alzheimer's.
They were 7th going into this game, and then they're now 11th.
They were disappointed with that. Like, I mean, it's a tough ask. Tamalolo getting injured in warm-up with all the rep players you got out. You take your halfback 5'8", Dearden out, a couple Nene out, a couple of guys going into a big game for rep footy. It's always a tough game, but I reckon they'd be disappointed with that. From 7th to 11th, they need to win next week. Whoever they got next week, they need to win next week to stay in that mix because they're a quality side, but it's not a good scoreline.
No. Big rap to, special mention to big Tommy Leroy Lars, his son Caden Lars, debuted on the weekend. I was lucky enough to play with Tommy Leroy at the Canberra Raiders, and his son looks like a chip off the block of his old fella. Worked hard on the weekend and didn't look out of place, so I'm sure you'll see plenty more first grade for young Caden. So well done, Tommy. Good human, Tommy. So well done. On to our next game, our final game of the weekend was Dogs 24 over the Rabbits 18. Dogs fans got to look at Lockie Galvin in the number 6 jumper partner and Toby Sexton. And I thought Toby Sexton was a big highlight of this game. He steered the ship really well, come up with some big plays, scored a try himself, set up one himself. South finished late, but it was just a little too late. But 24-18, how'd you see it play out?
Yeah, 18-0, the Dogs early. As you said, Sexton, Montoya, and Tracey. I thought Tracey was outstanding.
Yeah.
Talk about how their combination was going to go. We spoke about Titans playing good midfield shapes. I thought the Dogs, the shapes, especially with Burton now, they just look super clean. Some of their footy, especially that right edge. Carraz went into the centres as well. He had a couple of nice touches. I'm not sure how many games he's played in the centres. He's always been a winger. It's not always an easy transition, is it? Like you say, some guys are out and out wingers and then defensively in centre sometimes, or even the way you run the ball and your movements. It's not always as easy as people think, a centre to a winger. I thought Carraz was outstanding at centre. He just keeps growing week after week. But, yeah, I thought Sexton and Galvin, what I liked about it, me and you speak about that power balance of halves all the time. There's probably anticipation around how they were going to play, how Galvin was going to fit in. I thought he did a great job. Sexton ran the ship. There's a couple of nice little varieties on their 2 passes. And as we know more than anyone, to play good midfield shape and to play how they play with that sort of cohesion, and then also Tracey to find his spot, it was a really well-balanced performance. And credit to Galvin to be able to just fit into that puzzle without ego, knowing his role. So that's what stood out for me, and it's not easy to do. A new half comes in, it doesn't always just flow, especially when he plays a different style to Burton, completely different player. So I thought they were really good. But South too, I thought South were good. Obviously a late comeback. They obviously pounced on the. Yeah, here he is, South fan.
Yeah, I think the stoppage helped South stay in the game. I think Dogs probably would have put 50 on us if they wasn't
Turpin's send off helped them too. That was
true.
Turpin going into the bin. I think I think it was Jack Whiten scored not long after that. It might have been Alex Johnson. I think it was Jack Whiten's try down that left edge. But they pounced on the opportunities with Turpin going off. But yeah, I think Souths are good. Souths have got that ability still that they always have with the players that they got to turn points on fast. But I thought it was always going to be a tough ask against the Dogs, how resilient they are in defence, and they did a good job. I'll tell you what they did well, that kick out, the lines they run. I know I keep harping on it, but there was those midfield shapes. It was not really square leads with the A's and B's with the middles, but their back rows, their timing's good.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know how good we
They
know
do
how
it well.
good kick. We know how good Kickow is, but his timing was good. There was a tackle on... Who made that tackle? Someone made a tackle on him on the line. Bud Sullivan, maybe, I think it was. Fucking tackle of the year, but Kickow's lines on those edges. He'd be so good to play with as a half. Outside in, he's just perfect timing, size of him. Be good to play with.
It shows they've got a good system, the Bulldogs, sorry, that it's next man up mentality. Obviously, they've got a few players out during the Origin period. But when you're watching from on the weekend, you can just see that they stick to their same systems. I know Lockie Galvin's come in only a few weeks ago, but he feels like he's fit into plays. Like they don't sort of change their style to suit someone. They stick to what they do, and he adapted to it really well and didn't look out of place. But it just shows whatever they're doing in the lower grades is obviously the same as what they're doing in the first grade. So when you come up, you're next man up in that position, you fill the spot exactly the same way and you don't look out of place, where some teams sort of change because of their personnel, but it showed on the weekend the Dogs didn't. And as you said, Gabe, the difference was a little bit when the stoppage in play, because what it did do, it stops the momentum. So they talk about, have a discussion, what Mitch spoke about, is you have a discussion about what you're not doing right and what you need to start doing, and you've got a little bit of time to do it. When you only behind your trial line, it's hard to sort of come up that sort of talk with a whole group. So it would have given time to work out what they were doing wrong, and it showed that they could come back late finish, but this wasn't good enough. Welcome back. Munro for the South team's been in and out of injury, a tough year.
It was a good try, that.
Yeah, great try. And Alex Johnson scores another. He's coming for that record.
Good round of footy, my mate. It was a really good round of footy.
Origins upon us in a few days' time. Jerome Luai back in the number 6 to partner his little mate Nathan Cleary. How do we see it going? And was it the right option to go with Luai over Burton? And as we know that Mitchell Moses will be out for the whole Origin series, so he's out for 6 weeks. So it'll be Luai's jumper to keep if he plays well.
It's a no-brainer, I think. I would have gone Jerome all day, every day. As much as I love Burton as a player, it's a like for like, really. Jerome's proven over and over again at club level and rep footy, he's unfazed. He thrives with opportunity. His style is just like a glove for Nathan. They'll just go back to what they've always done. The only thing that's a negative for me, we saw Nathan play his best footy with Mitch. We saw Nathan probably play his most dominant game in Origin, and I think Mitch played its part in that, as he had an option kicker. He was able to play just a little bit more ad-lib, having Mitch there, where we haven't seen that in Origin as much. They've had series wins, but as we go back to it, and it hasn't come from us, sometimes there's criticism as Nathan Cleary dominated Origin like all the greats. After game 1, everyone was saying he did, and I totally agree. But the criticism when he played with Jerome was that they were sometimes, him, Yowie and Jerome played a little bit too structured in some series. So that's the risk. That's the negative side to it. They'll get the job done, no doubt. But it's good to talk about both sides of it. What's the positive? What's the negative? For me, that's it, my friend. But I think it's a great inclusion. Jerome will just attack the game. He'll probably be hurting a bit that he wasn't there in game 1, so he's even got that little bit more chip on his shoulder, which he doesn't need. But I'm looking forward to watching it for sure.
What's Queensland need to do to win?
We spoke about it last game. They've got to win field position. They've got to kick better than New South Wales. And they've got to win the ruck. How do they do that? They need to have the ref on their side. They need to earn the right to get penalties. I like the way that they played in game one. They showed glimpses of it early where they moved the ball a bit in yardage. I still think they have to take calculated risks to get around New South Wales pack because we've got a better pack than them. Simple and straightforward. I think our pack is bigger and more powerful. Our outside backs with Lomax and Toho create probably more damage in the backfield. So I think we'll see some ball movement. I think we'll see.
They made a change if Val Holmes has gone to the centres and Hammer's gone to the wing.
I think we'll see plenty of kicks and touches from Munster. I think he's going to be in everything. Wally Lewis, he's going to throw everything he's got at the kitchen sink. Is that what you say? He's going to throw everything.
He'll throw the kitchen sink at him.
That's the one. But yeah, he's going to be in everything. He's going to take total ownership. I think that's what they want from him. That's why he's captain. But yeah, I think we're going to see plenty of ball movement from Queensland, calculated risks to try and win field position. They're going to be hoping that the ref's on their side, and if they can get a few penalties in yardage and find their way downfield, they'll cause some damage. But we're going to be too big, too strong, Toddy.
So you're going with New South Wales this week?
Of course. I've said that since last game. I said that before the first game, actually.
You didn't. You said Queensland would win.
I said we'll win the series, we'll win the next two games, and this is what we're doing. I just gave you the formula.
We're talking about the first one.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? How do you see it, my friend? What's your thoughts on the Jerome Nathan combo? Do you agree with what I said?
I totally agree with what you said. I think they'll stick to the same structures that they went with in game one, and I think Jerome just comes in and fits that really well. Obviously, Jerome probably likes to have the ball in his hands a little bit more than Mitchell probably did, and they'll have that because they've played together. So they have an understanding of what they need to do. But also I think Nathan will sort of let Jerome know of how they played in game one. That freed him up a whole lot more to give him that freedom again also. But I think
he's been playing a bit more like that at the Tigers, so he might actually have a bit more to his game than what he had with Nathan previously, do you reckon?
Yeah.
Because at the Tigers, he's had to take more responsibility.
Well, it'll be in there. That's the thing. You'll get a good look of how they've both grown as players, I think. Obviously, it's hard to look in Origin because it'll be coming at him a lot faster, but it would be good to see him how they complement each other since being on opposite sides from each other. But I think New South Wales win. I think they get their job done. I believe it'll be a 3-0 series. They've gone, I think, with moving Val and Hammer to the wings it doesn't change too much. Obviously, yeah, it doesn't change too much for me. I'm not worried about Queensland at all. I was worried about Queensland in the first game because it was up here in Queensland. I think down in Perth.
Wow.
I was worried, but I didn't tick Queensland.
Trying to flip the script.
Trying to flip the script on me, boy.
He saw his opportunity. You got to respect it.
You got to pounce quicker than that, brother.
Yeah. I love Gabe just laughing in the background.
Well, you got me. That was funny. 13 plus boys, whooping, close one. What do you reckon?
60 plus.
Oi.
60 plus to the Blues.
I reckon the score will be 32-12.
32-12. What do you?
We're not picking scores in that, are we?
I
can't even get my tips right, let alone picking.
We'll just have a stab. Have a stab in the dark.
28-16.
That's bad.
Not 60.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. 68-1.
68-1. They kick a field goal.
28-16. I'm going. If that's what we're doing.
And what about man of the match, boys?
I'll go Nathan again. I think it's his time, my friend. Well, I want to call him my friend. We love him. Nathan Cleary, one of the all-time greats.
Nathan Cleary, yeah.
Man of the series.
Oh, that is a round 15 review, little Origin talk wrap, done and dusted. Hope everyone has a great week. Keep listening and enjoy Origin on Wednesday night. Over and out from the great men, Mitchell Pearce and Todd Carney.
See you, friends. Look at the fireworks, Toddy.
Oh, what an outro.
Oh, that's the best.